And now, let's welcome your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, Louise Hicks. In this episode, rise up, Black families. Break all enslaved mindset chains.
This is Louise Hicks. I am your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Beautiful Sunday afternoon, a little bit hot here in Texas, humid as well. But again, I am Louise Hicks. I'm your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, where we go live every Sunday and sometimes in between. And you can also check me out on my YouTube channel, which is aimed, AIMED, the number 2, Purpose, PURPOSE, radio, RADIO, aimed, the number 2, Purpose Radio. That's my YouTube channel. And you can check me out there. And please share the content because there's a lot of inspirational, healthy content that you can use in your everyday life to raise you to a higher level of consciousness. And that's what this show is all about. Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, where I am here as a mad Black woman. And that is an acronym for motivated and determined Black woman to support my community, the Black community, in elevating ourselves to a higher level of consciousness so that we can have a legacy and generational wealth for our offsprings and generations to come. And that's something that we all should be striving for. And as I've said several times, and I always tell everyone, this show is for everyone. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, you're welcome to come into my show. Go to my YouTube channel, Aim to Purpose Radio, because this is a spinoff of my son and myself show that we had when we were in California. Well, he's still in California. Aim to Purpose, the radio show, where we had guests of all ethnicities from all over the world sharing transformational information to help all of us live in this chaotic world in peace and harmony, and most importantly, loving one another. So with that said, let's get on with what we're going to talk about today. And let's see, we are going to talk about rise up Black families, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, physically, socially, and economically, so that we can break all enslaved mindset chains. Because you know why? Your power lies within you. Let it loose and let's build together. And again, I am Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And I chose this topic today because I want to talk about all these things, because this is what creates our success. And this is what builds strong Black family structure that has been an attempt by design to take down Black families, to destroy our family structure. It's been a huge attempt, and it began with the inception of slavery. And if anyone is uncomfortable talking about this, you have the problem, not me, because we need to know our history. Everyone should know their history. And there's no issue when other ethnicities are talking about their history. However, whenever we as Black people talk about our history, and the atrocities of slavery, there seems to be some people, including our Black people, that feel that we should not be talking about this and that you're getting uncomfortable and all of these things. And if that's what's happening with you, you have a problem, not me or any other intelligent Black person. And I just want to make that known up front because I am this mad Black woman. And that is an acronym, as I stated, for motivated and determined to support my people, Black people, to a higher level of consciousness so that we can become all of these things that I have mentioned to you, elevated in all of our spirituality, our mental capabilities, our emotional capabilities, our intellectual capabilities, physically, socially, and economically. Because once we rise up, we are going to be a power to be reckoned with. And I mean, rise up collectively, building together. And speaking of building together, let me share this with you. Yesterday, I went to Houston, Texas. I went down to be a part of the grand opening of Chef D. Allen's Build a Pizza. And this is what we have to do as Black people in order to build together so that we can leave that legacy and generational wealth for our offsprings. Because we know that many of us sit around, we talk, and we talk, yet we do nothing about the talk. We don't take any action to improve ourselves, to bring ourselves to a higher level of consciousness. And this is so important. It's highly important. We cannot afford to sit around and wait for some government crumbs. And believe me, we deserve reparations for all of these atrocities that happened right here on American soil. Of all people that deserve reparations, Black people do. And we need to continue to fight to get equal rights here in America because we know we don't have them. And Chef D, I want to commend you, the owner, a Black business owner of Build a Pizza. You have a beautiful place in Houston, Texas, where you have unique, creative pizzas. And I love it. I want everyone to support Chef D. Allen. And when I say everyone, I mean all ethnicities. You expect us to support you, so you need to support us. As Black people, we have close to $2 trillion running through our hands annually. And we need to take some of that money and support our own. Everyone else supports their own and nobody is feeling uncomfortable about it. So stop feeling uncomfortable about supporting your own people. Stop feeling uncomfortable about being Black because you've been brainwashed, bamboozled, blindsided, as Malcolm X would say, Marcus Garvey would say, and all of the ancestors that came before us that fought so hard to elevate us and bring us out of slavery. And for all of you that are out here celebrating, we just had 4th of July, in which it is meaningless to us because it wasn't our independence. We celebrated Juneteenth, and a lot of us don't really know the true meaning behind Juneteenth, why it was an Emancipation Proclamation. And it wasn't because President Lincoln loved Black people. And it is said that he didn't have slaves, in which I don't know because I wasn't there. However, I know that Black people were enslaved, and I know the true reason of why. It was because of the fight, the war that was going on. And these white supremacists did not want to break up the Union. That's the true reason behind Juneteenth. And to be given a symbolic holiday for all of the atrocities that Black people have suffered and still suffering, what do you think that's doing for us? To have one day out of a year, Juneteenth, to celebrate. I just want to give you some food for thought, because this is what President Biden and your Vice President Kamala Harris think of us. We need the reparations. Show us the money, okay, for all of the free labor that white people got. And not only the free labor, but the atrocities that they suffered, being beaten, raped, mutilated, castrated, you name it, babies killed that were fathered by white slave owners. And I have no problem in saying, and again, I don't want anybody sending me all of this nonsense, because I've had some of it from white people on Facebook sending me messages that you can't prove because you're uncomfortable. What about us and our children? You're even trying to take the fact away that slavery even existed in America because of your ears. What about our ears? So Black people, let's wake up. Wake up with everything that I'm going to talk to you about. And it's amazing how some of us will do anything for the white dollar. We need to stop and think, okay? Stop and think. And I'm sending a message to someone that's trying to, I guess, watch this on Facebook. So we got to start using our brilliant melanated minds. We must. And in the meantime, start building together as a united people. We're the only ethnic group that is not united. However, I can tell you, it's because we need healing in all of the aspects to create that success that we need to leave the legacy. No ethnicity in this country has suffered the atrocities that Black people have suffered under slavery. White supremacy, slavery. And then they go on to do the Jim Crow, the mass incarceration, the killings of Black people. I won't just say Black men, even though it's more Black men. And look what happened with Jalen Walker. What monster would shoot that many times at a human being? That's evil, hate, nothing but evil and hate. And yet, I'm pretty sure some of you who are out here doing all this killing, you're calling yourself Christians. What is true Christianity? From my perspective, it was supposed to be about love. However, it was used to enslave our people. And I tell everybody, we need to use these biblical principles to get out of that enslaved mindset. I'll give you one scripture that I use quite a bit, and that's 2 Timothy 1:7. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of a sound mind, and love. So where's the love? Even among our own people who kill one another, where's the love? We must stop. We need to have and work on our spirituality, that inner God of inside of us that allows us to have the power that lies within us. There's so much power in us, but we fear too much. I have no fear of man. I have been given the power to love from God. And that's what I rest on. I rest on that power, the God in me. And I didn't say I am God, but I am a God, God, the God in me, inside of me, that brings out the spirit of love that exudes from me to help me to support and elevate my people. so that we can get the legacy, leave the generational wealth for our offspring, because we know it was stolen. And who's getting the benefit of that stolen labor from our ancestors? That we should get equality and have part of that that's been stolen from us. And with that said, congratulations again, Dee. You had a very successful grand opening. You had a great turnout. I'm very proud of you as a Gen X young Black woman who used your power to start your own business, a very unique pizza business. Build a Pizza in Houston, Texas. You guys look her up. Go to her website, which is Build, B-U-I-L-D, a Pizza, P-I-Z-Z-A, Fun, F-U-N, buildapizzafun.com. Check her out. Go give her some of your money, a Black business. That's how we raise our level of consciousness. So give her some of your Black dollars. And with that said, as I mentioned, I'm not going to be too long. I want to talk about Black family structure a bit more, because we need to have more of that, more structure, because we know it was by design to take away and make every attempt to take the Black man out of the home, incarcerate him, so that you can break the family structure. It hasn't happened because there are still many Black fathers who are in the home or with their children, teaching their children our history, teaching their children about spirituality, teaching their children intellectually, and allowing them to have the legacy and that generational wealth that we as Black people should be striving every day to accomplish and to achieve, because we want to make sure our children are successful in all aspects of their lives. And I did this vision board class, and you can also do a vision book to take with you. And these are some of the things that I put on my vision board. And I have these here because some of us think that success is just money, but it's all about not just our economic well-being, but our intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, socially, physically, and definitely economics. So this is my vision board. And a lot of these things I have on here have come true. And I did facilitate a vision board class back in May. It was a Mother's Day month celebration, and we're going to have a review of everything coming November, just before the end of the year. We're going to go and revisit with all the participants, and it was only $25. And we go and give our money away to so many other causes that have nothing to do with us. They do nothing to elevate us. So why not give your money to a cause to elevate yourself and raise yourself to a higher level of consciousness? And in the coming weeks, I'm going to be talking about some other things just to give you some ideas of what I'm going to be talking about. I'll be talking more about mental health and our enslaved mindset, because we do suffer, many of us, from PTSD, post-traumatic slave syndrome. I'm going to be talking about that in conjunction with the Willie Lynch letter, which is the why as to some of us still have the invisible chains all over our body. I'm going to talk about more about legacy and generational wealth and how we can bring the Black family structure, not just our blood family, but all of our combined ethnicity as a Black unit together, because that's what we have to do. We have to connect the dots and work together and build, like what we did yesterday in supporting Chef D. Allen, who is a Black entrepreneur of Build a Pizza. And I'm going to be talking about religious hypocrisy because it's so much of it. I mean, religious hypocrisy is running rampant, just like we're living in this chaotic, hateful society. Religion hypocrisy has a lot to do with it. So I'm going to talk about that too, because there's a lot of that that's going on. So I want to share before I leave out a little bit about what's going on with my son, because I did speak with you about that. And I want to update you on what I've done so far about my son. So, as I've mentioned in the past, my son was diagnosed with a rare bone cancer at the age of 14 and went on to battle depression, drug addiction, and it has been a journey. It started in 1995, and it has been a family journey where we have done everything within our power to help my son to get back to normal, quote unquote, whatever that is, the best he could. However, once we get him to a more stabilized point, guess what? The court system drops the ball on him due to improper due process. And they did it again after I had been conservatorship. His father has been conservatorship over him, and he was doing so much better each time. So what I did this time, because right now my son is in a crisis, my son David Reed, who inspired my award-winning book. This book was inspired by my son, David. I wrote it and it was published in 2010. And it's a very powerful and empowering book to help not only people like my son, but anyone who's having a crisis and having emotional, mental issues. This can help in many ways. So, with that said, I took action, and that's what I said we have to do. We can't just sit around talking as Black people, oh, woe is me, and we can't keep putting these lackadaisical politicians, Black, white, whatever ethnicity they are, in office, because they're not going to do anything for you unless you demand it, like the other groups have done. That's why they're getting their needs met, many of these other groups out here. And we're not getting ours met because we don't demand to get them met. And we keep voting for these Democrats over and over and over. And they do nothing. We have a Black caucus there, and very few of these Black caucus will do anything. They are doing for everybody else, though. And these other caucuses, they are focused on their own, because charity does start at home. So you can't blame them. But our caucus and us as Black people, we want to try and focus on the whole everybody. Priority should be you as a Black person first, because charity starts at home. And that's not to say you don't love anybody else, because we're supposed to love. I keep this handy. Love. This is important. Love is very important. However, charity starts at home. Love yourself first. If you can't love yourself, how are you going to love somebody else? Other ethnicities are focused on themselves first, and that's a fact. They're not focused on you first. They're focused on themselves first. And that's what we as Black people need to do. We need to bond together as a united people, build together. And that's why I drove 4 or 5 hours, whatever it was, to go and support D. Allen, Chef D. Allen of Build a Pizza, because that's what we should be doing, supporting our Black-owned businesses, and stop the foolishness and the nonsense of saying, oh, that price a little bit too high, blah, blah, blah. How do you think they're gonna make a living when you don't support them. If you have to pay $1 more, a quarter more, whatever, spend some money with your own. It's nothing wrong with it. Other ethnicities are doing that. You go into a lot of their establishments, they want you to buy their products and they won't even hire you. Look at the hair business, for instance. We spend a lot of money in the Asian community with hair, unless you're wearing your hair natural, in which more Black people are starting to do, which you should, because a lot of those chemicals are doing nothing but killing us. And we go and patronize and spend our money. And you go in some of those establishments, they won't even hire you. And who's the most unemployed persons in America? Black people. They tell you that the unemployment rate is dropped, but who has it dropped for? Like I said, let's use our critical thinking skills and start focusing on elevating ourselves, to a higher level of consciousness so that we can achieve. And we do that by building together, patronizing our Black businesses. And if you pay a little bit more, so be it. You're going to go and spend the money probably on something that you don't even need. And I'm going to be talking about the entertainment industry as well. I've spoken of that too before, but I'm going to talk more about that in the future. But anyhow, I read the letter last week in my podcast that I had written to President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Governor Gavin Newsom. And it's in the mail. It is in the mail. I read it last week. These are my certified receipts. So they will get the letter. They will have no excuses not to respond, because I will get a return receipt showing that my letters went to the White House and Sacramento. So here's the proof right here. I'll get the green cards. I'll share that with you, the return receipts, to show that I sent those letters off certified. And I also will be sending out some emails first thing tomorrow morning. And I shared with you who these emails will be going to. I'm going to share that again. I'm not going to read the letter again, not now anyhow. But they will be going to all of these Californians, because that's where my son is and that's where I'm from. Wasn't born there. I was born in Louisiana. So I know about the South, graduated from high school in Louisiana, top 5 of my class. I have a bachelor's degree in social work. So I am by no means out here just speaking off the top of my head. I had a radio show. I've done a lot of research, because I do research. And I'm 71. So I've lived a lot of this stuff that I don't have to do research on. The colored fountains, Black fountain that my mother said we will not drink out of those fountains. And we didn't, because we are not 3/5 of a person as our Constitution has defined us to be. You got to stand up, my people. Stand up for who you are. You were born equal. God didn't have you delivered to planet Earth to be treated like a second-class citizen. And I have no problem standing up telling white people when they try to pull that string on me. In employment, as I've spoken before, I was going to go to law school. I have practiced law on myself against the County of Los Angeles and won my claim, because I had the documentation to prove what I was saying. I didn't come to planet Earth. God didn't put me on here as an unequal human being and to be treated like a second-class citizen. And I'll tell you to your face, I have done it to white people, because it's not right. And if you have any love in your heart, you would be doing the righteous thing as well. And when I get to religion, when I might even talk about that next week or the following week, I'm going to talk about some religious things the hypocrisy of it. Because true Christianity would be showing true love. And we wouldn't have to be out here as Black people saying we want equal rights, because we would have them. We want economic empowerment, because we would have it. All the greed in this country, and how and who's benefiting from the labor of our ancestors who were beaten, and all the heinous crimes that were perpetrated against them and still is. Jobs, housing, you name it. I have personal experiences of it, and I speak up. And when you speak up and speak out, guess what? They don't want you there, because they want to keep the status quo. That's how this society is, because it's filled with hate, evil and hate. And it's been demonstrated over and over and over again with George Floyd, and more recently, Jalen Walker, who was treated worse than an animal by monsters, evil monsters. That's all I can call them, evil monsters. Hate. How can you shoot at a human being over 90 sometimes and pump from allegedly 60 some bullets into his body and not say you're a monster? I don't know what they're doing with those police officers that did that, but something needs to be done. They need to be held accountable for what they did. But I'm sending my letter again to Senator Dianne Feinstein. All of these are Californians, because that's where we are with this situation. Senator Alex Padilla, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard. State Senator of California, Bob Archuleta. Assemblywoman Christina Garcia. Mayor of Downey, Blanca Pacheco. Mayor of Norwalk, and all of these again, California, Mr. Ramirez. The County of Los Angeles, Board of Supervisors, Hilda Solis, Holly J. Mitchell, Sheila Kuel, Janice Hahn, who is of the district, Downey, California, Catherine Barger, the police chief of Downey, Leslie Murray, the police chief of Long Beach, California, Wally Hebish, the police chief of Los Angeles, California, Michael Moore, the police chief of Signal Hill, California, Carl Charles, the Sheriff's Department of Los Angeles County, Alex Villanueva, I hope I'm pronouncing the names correctly, as I said, the Lakewood Sheriff's Station, Captain Daniel Holquin, the Norwalk Sheriff's Station, Christopher Johnson, the County of Los Angeles Department of Mental Health, Director Lisa H. Wong, Miss Lavinia Rosen of Homes for Life. I'm sending this to all of them because they are all in a leadership position in areas that could impact my son, who needs to be hospitalized immediately. And I'm having a rough time getting him hospitalized because he may have an infection from the cancer that he's had before, and he didn't have follow-up after the surgery because of the pandemic. And because of his emotional state right now, he's in a severe emotional state right now, significantly severe. So I'm sending this to everybody because I don't want my son, since he was let go of the conservatorship without proper due process of the court system in California, I'm sending this out to all the people so that they will be aware of my son's mental illness so that he does not become a George Floyd, a Jalen Walker, a Breonna Taylor, and the list could go on and on and on. I don't want my son to be shot down by the police because he goes to an establishment demanding that they give him food, or go to the wrong place and be beaten and left for dead on the street, which has happened. I've been going through this for 25 plus years now, since my son was 14 when he was diagnosed with this rare bone cancer, osteogenic sarcoma. And I've been fighting for his life. If my son didn't have me as an advocate, I don't know where he would be right now. He may be dead right now. And I face the reality of that. And I feel for all of these parents, mothers and fathers, the siblings, the children of these fallen Black men, women, and children who have been killed by the police or others, some by the hands of our own Black people, which is an atrocity within itself. However, we know the why. I've told you the why. When we started out my spiritual empowerment hour through my podcast in January, it all goes back to one thing, and that's slavery. No one should have ever been enslaved. Who's given anyone the authority to be lording it over someone else? God didn't give you that power to lord it over anyone, let alone to beat, rape, hang, castrate, all of the heinous atrocities. That's hate. It's evil. So I have been distraught over having to go through all of this writing and do all of the things that I've had to do with helping to elevate my son out of this situation that he's in, get him hospitalized as soon as possible. And I'm praying that President Biden, Kamala Harris, Governor Newsom, I would love to meet with each one of you, actually. And if you can go out here and meet with all of these different entertainers that many of them have no substance when it comes to the Black community, because they don't care, some of them, about the Black community. They've made their money off of all of this rap and spewing out all of this inappropriate information to the ears that are being tickled with wrong information, information that's not elevating our level of consciousness. But it's a money thing with these rappers. Of course, it's a money thing with them. And I'm not saying all of them, because there are some out there that are not spewing all of this negativity, but it's so many of them that are. So where is your conscience, the ones that are doing that? Where's your conscience? Do you have one? Ask yourself that question. Is that money that important to you that you will spew out these negative behaviors that a lot of our young people are listening to and taking in, and it's causing them to become incarcerated, to become drug addicted, to become dead, to kill up one another? What are you doing? Is that all that money that important to you? And many of you have made lots of money. Yet, what are you doing? And you don't have to do anything, but you need to stop the negativity spewing over to our young people, tickling their ears in the wrong way. You need to stop it, because you're not helping the Black community. You're not helping to elevate us to a higher level of consciousness. And that's what we need. So I'm going to see what's going to happen with President Biden, President, and thank you for watching, Barbara. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jose, my neighbor back in, well, we both live in, I guess, two different places. Thank you for watching, because I'm here. God has given me this assignment and I'm going to do it. Like I said, if anyone is feeling uncomfortable with what I'm saying, you need to examine your heart, because all of us should be living on this planet with equality. That's what it should be about. God delivered all of us as equal human beings. And if you don't see that, you have a problem. Not me. I don't have the problem because I see it. All the wealth that was stolen from our ancestors working free, giving their blood, sweat, and tears, being beaten down every day, rapes of Black women. I wouldn't have survived back then, because I am this mad Black woman, motivated and determined. So I would not have survived, because there's no way I would have let a white man rape me. I just would not have allowed it. If I could do something about it, believe me, you wouldn't have gotten away with raping me. And my mother, I got a lot of my wisdom, a lot of my ability to speak out and speak up. I got a lot of it from my mother. I got my intellect from my mother and my father, because I think my father was more fearful to speak out because he was a Black man and he knew what would have happened to him, like what almost happened to my grandfather. My grandfather had to run for his life from white men who wanted to lynch him, because as a sharecropper, he wanted to keep some of his hard-earned money. But those thieves wanted him to give them everything so he could remain in poverty. And look what happened when Black people were able, when they were put out with nothing and what they built. And guess what? The government helped to tear it down. 1921, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. And believe me, that's just the one that's more publicized. It's not the only one. There's so many Black towns that were thriving and white people destroyed them out of hate and evil. And our kids don't even know or understand the historical facts behind all of this. And white people are trying their best, many of them, the white supremacists, to suppress this information, but not under my watch, because I've taught my kids and I still teach them, even though they are adults. I still let my kids know the history of what has gone on here in America. And I'm here now to the world, because the world has caught on to all of it. And that's why white supremacists keep trying their best to not allow these facts to be known, because they want to keep you an oppressed people, and we cannot allow that. We can no longer sit back and allow it. And the people that are my age, some of you have become so complacent until you're just waiting to die. And the younger generation, some of you, Gen X's, Gen Y's, you need to go and start doing some due diligent research and start listening to some of the older generations who have the intellect to educate you, because so many of you are lost. You're lost. And as long as you keep this generational lack of knowledge going, your offsprings will remain in poverty, and you will continue to be out here expecting and taking government crumbs. So we got to work on our intellect, our knowledge. We must, for survival, bring back the family structure, because it was all by design to take the Black fathers out of the home. And I'm telling you what I know. And let me give you a little example of this. When we were kids, my father was a brilliant man. could take a car apart, put it back together. But because of racism, he had a tough time getting jobs. And the crops, if they would raise something, the white men wanted to take it all because of their greed and their hate and their evil spirit. So they split up, he and my mother. He was put in jail for lack of child support because we were on welfare. I know about picking cotton. I picked cotton right along with my mother, who she had to tell a white man off because everybody to him was ain't he this and ain't he that. Little young white guys in their 20s or whatever. But the welfare was by design to do what they could to keep the black man out of the home. And I'm going to tell you what they would do. They would hire all these younger white women or whatever. They would come out to the home. I know because I'm speaking from what I know. Line you up, ask you questions, go in your house to check to see if there was any sign of a man's clothing because they did not want the fathers in the home. That was their MO, method of operation, to break up the black family. The structure, so they could incarcerate black men and get more free labor and line up the children like little cattle, start asking you questions. Oh, has there been a man around? Go looking in your closets. Such inhumane behavior by white people, all by design. And who did they hire? White people. We never had a black social worker or whatever they called them back in Louisiana to come out and investigate these crimes. I call them crimes of human beings because that's all it was, by design, to break the black family structure. So black families, they didn't break it all. They broke some, but didn't break it all. And my father was a loving man. However, he was a victim of racism and this society, passed away at the early age of 62. So with that said, I'm ready to get off. And yes, Barbara, it is shocking what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But believe me, if you look on YouTube and do some research, there are so many black towns that were thriving that were destroyed by white, hateful, evil people. Because they will do anything they can, even today. They don't want police, they don't want the public, and this has been going on for a long time. They don't even want the public to video the police. And you know why? Because they don't want the truth to come out of what these policemen are doing to black people. They took the white guy that shot up the black people in the church to get a hamburger, as if to say, son, a job well done when you shot up all these black people in the church. They didn't kill him. They took him to get a hamburger. And look what happened in Chicago on July 4th when they're celebrating, and which I don't celebrate July 4th because it has nothing to do with my independence. If I was independent, I would have equal opportunities and would have always had them. Black people wouldn't be out here with all these laws they're putting up, because if they had done the Constitution appropriately from the beginning and treated people as human beings, which we're all God's people, none of this stuff would have been happening. None of it. We wouldn't have all this chaotic world. America is so broken and chaotic now, and the mental health system, it's atrocious. It's so broken. The medical system is broken. And I'll talk about that too in another video, how we are censored because the power that may be feels that one medical doctor's assessment of what's going on is better than another medical doctor's, and these are white doctors. So you know they won't pay attention to a black doctor. They're censors. Take your information off of YouTube, as if we don't have brains as Americans, and this is for all ethnicities. They act as if we don't have brains as Americans to intellectually use our critical thinking skills to discern the information that we're given. So they will take your information by one white doctor. If it's not favorable toward the pharmaceutical companies who are nothing but greedy, they are all greedy because they want you to walk around with the medicine cabinet because it's greed. They rake in billions of dollars. What if everybody on planet Earth was like me? Not on any medication. And that's not to say I haven't taken medication because I feel medications are useful, however, in emergencies. Not to have people walking around with medicine cabinets of medicines, and many of them duplications of the same medicines. It's ridiculous. So wake up, my people. I am here on Louise Hicks Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour to help bring us as Black people to a higher level of consciousness. Because of all ethnicities, we are at the bottom, and we've been in this country longer than any ethnicity. We've suffered more atrocities due to enslavement of any ethnicity in this country, in America. So we must put ourselves first and think about what we're doing to ourselves, because your power lies within you. Let it loose. God has told you, as I mentioned right up front, 2 Timothy 1:7, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, capital POWER, a sound mind, capital MIND, and love, capital LOVE, love. But we're not showing it here in America and across the world, actually. Looks what's going on all across the world. People have lost their minds. But God gave us a sound mind. We were born with it. God gave us power. So start using that power, Black people. Your power lies within you. Let it loose. Let your power loose. I'm letting mine loose. I let it loose wherever I go. If anybody tried to make me feel like a second class citizen, I'm letting you know right up front that I am not a second class citizen, and I wasn't born to be treated like one. So with that said, I'm getting ready to get out. Again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. On my YouTube channel, I'm Aimed to Purpose Radio, AIMED, the number 2, Purpose, PURPOSE, Radio. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, please, because I'm here to help and support and bring about some peace and harmony. Because when there's equality, there's no reason to be disharmony. But it's too much greed in this country, and the powers that may be cater to the greed. So President Biden, I've written this letter to you. I've written this letter to you, Kamala Harris, Vice President, Madam Vice President, as you are addressed, Governor Gavin Newsom. I've written this letter to all 3 of you. I've sent it off, as I've shown. Certified, is in the mail. You should be getting it next week. I have also identified the copies that will be going out in email first thing tomorrow morning. I would love to meet with each of you because my son's life is at stake right now. My son's life is at stake, David. And I am this mad Black woman, motivated and determined, that's my acronym for MAD, to do whatever I can to raise the level of consciousness for my Black community and to help see who can help me get my son hospitalized, who is in dire need of medical care right now as I speak. And I'm distraught over the improper due process that allowed him to come from under conservatorship after getting it twice for him. because he's in no shape to be able to fend or defend for himself. So I pray that I can get a meeting. If you're the president and the vice president and the governor for all of us, why can't you meet with me and find a solution for me and my son so that he will not be in the streets, as I've mentioned, because he can be now, because he's not under conservatorship anymore, and get shot up like those people that I've mentioned. Jalen Walker, shot at over 90 times, worse than an animal would be treated. George Floyd, murdered in the front of our eyes. Breonna Taylor, and other Blacks who have been, crimes just heinously committed against them by police officers that are supposed to serve and protect. America, you're broken. You are broken. And it's because of greed. And I'm here to help to elevate my people to a higher level of consciousness. Again, Louise Hicks, the host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. I come in on Sundays and I chat and talk about things of importance to the Black community. I have no issues with anybody coming in, listening, communicating with me. However, my first priority is to support and help raise the level of consciousness for my community, because as Black people, we are at the bottom in every aspect in this country. And it's a reason. It's the Willie Lynch syndrome. We are suffering, many of us, from post-traumatic slave syndrome that we've never been healed from. And I'm here to help with some healing so that we can have the success and the equality and the money reparations that we deserve here in America. So with that said, I'll see you all, God's willing, next Sunday. Much love to everyone. And I pray that I will get a response from the letters that I've written to help my son get hospitalized. And I'm asking you all to pray with me and to pray for us, so that my son can get the help that he needs to get hospitalized right away because of his physical and mental illness at this time. He's in desperate need of being hospitalized, and the court system did improper due process and let him go from his conservatorship. Thank you all very much. Have a beautiful, wonderful Sunday. And again, go to my YouTube channel, Aim to the number 2 Purpose, AIMED, the number 2 Purpose Radio. Subscribe. Have a lot of good content out there. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you again. Have a very good day and a great week, rest of your weekend, and a fantastic week ahead. Bye-bye for now. God bless.